Welcome back to Don't Forget Your Flashlight. Some say the perfect crime doesn't exist, but Richard Crafts gave it one hell of a shot. For this is the story of Helle Crafts, a flight attendant, a mother, and the woman whose brutal murder in 1986 would inspire Fargo and haunt the snowy streets of Connecticut forever. Buckle up, because this one's got airline miles and a whole lot of forensic files.
On November 18th, 1886, friends dropped off Helle Crafts at her home in Newtown. This was the last time she was seen alive. Helle vanished under circumstances so chilling they would haunt Connecticut's legal history forever. She was a 39-year-old Danish-born flight attendant who was murdered by her husband, Eastern Airlines pilot Richard Crafts. He was also a part-time policeman.
Okay, so I'm gonna assume then, because I don't know anything about the story, I'm gonna assume then that they met on an airline.
They met through work, yes.
Yeah, she's
a
pilot.
Yep, he's a pilot.
Also, how are you a part-time policeman if you're a pilot?
Weekends, maybe? I don't know. I don't actually understand that too much. There's not a lot on that because he was just a part-time policeman, but it's just like I'm picturing it almost like what do you call it? A weekend warrior, I think, is the military, right? Where you just basically go like,
yeah, it's for
I think it's every
National
like
Guard.
2 weeks out of the month or something, like 2 weekends out of the month, and you just gotta like sit at a station basically and guard it.
No, you gotta go. I think it's training. You gotta go for training.
Something like that, yeah. I just picture it something like that, where you could be like a policeman who is only there like maybe weekends or every other weekend. Not a lot of detail on it because, again, his main job was a pilot, and that really doesn't pertain to this.
Maybe you're right. He does it on the weekends, and like he doesn't fly that often. Maybe. The couple had been married for 10 years and had 3 children. Helle balanced her role as a mother with a career as a globe-trotting flight attendant. Richard, however, was a less than ideal husband. He was moody, not particularly attentive to the children, and tended to purchase expensive equipment and firearms without consulting his wife. Finally, he was also having affairs with other women. I feel like that's actually a common trend amongst pilots and flight attendants.
I did not put it in there, I guess. I meant to specify, like, so you can tell by that wording that it was multiple women, like multiple affairs. But I guess she knew about them. Like, she knew about him not being faithful, but it was the last one that like made her snap, you know? Like, she's like, I'm done with this. I could see it. I mean, you know, you're like, especially with her, because she didn't just do like local flights. She would go overseas. Like, she'd be on those flights. So like, I could see that. You're in a different country.
I've heard stories about it. Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
I don't either, but I could see it because you're out of the country. Like, you meet some guy, especially in this scenario. Like, there is no proof that she ever cheated on her husband, but like, I could see in this scenario where she knows her husband has been unfaithful for like X amount of time and is, you know, not a good husband, where she would meet some nice guy overseas and be like, oh, this guy's better than my husband. And, you know, they just have a night.
It's got a better ding dong.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, because I feel like in your situation, if you bought expensive equipment and firearms without consulting your wife, you'd probably be...
I don't buy anything without telling my wife. If it's
That's what I'm saying.
If it's over $20, I'm telling her.
I'm sure a lot of people would probably be like, I can't without talking to my wife first. This was the last straw that caused Helle to meet a divorce attorney, Diana M. Anderson, and hire private investigator Keith Mayo to track down Richard's latest girlfriend. Mayo's task was simple. Helle had a phone number on her bill she didn't recognize. Richard's credit card receipts and long-distance phone bills pointed to a flight attendant in Middletown, New Jersey. Richard had a poor grasp on the concept of paper trails. Helle had also told Diana that if anything ever happened to me, it was my husband. Which I guess I didn't put it in there, but she did. Diana, there was a little part where Diana's like, and that's pretty weird, you know, to have a client say that to a divorce attorney. Which it would be. I mean, it would be very weird. I will say...
he's having an affair.
This is 89 or 86, sorry, 86. So this is the time period where you get a phone bill in the mail and it shows you every single call you've ever made to anyone.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to figure out what's going on there. Not like today.
This is pre-smartphones.
Yep.
Helle told Richard that she had decided to seek a divorce, but did not tell him the grounds for divorce. He appeared to take the news well. On the night of November 18th, Richard clubbed Helle to death. How's that taking it well, Michael?
Well, in her eyes, she's like, "Oh, he's taking this really well." In his mind, he's like, "I'm gonna fucking murder her."
Okay, on the night of November 18th, Richard clubbed Helle to death in their bedroom and placed her body in a chest freezer. That same night, a severe snowstorm hit the Newtown area. The next morning, he took the children and their nanny to his sister's house in Westport, saying it was due to the storm. After that, he went and rented the largest commercial wood chipper and U-Haul he could get. Returning home, Helle's body was stiff enough that he used a chainsaw to cut his wife's frozen corpse into smaller pieces that could be fed through the wood chipper he had rented. What the heck?
Yeah. So the man bought a U-Haul, which we'll go into it a little bit later. Why you need the U-Haul?
Okay, so yeah, so it says he rented the largest commercial wood chipper and U-Haul, which makes it sound like he also rented the largest U-Haul he could get.
I don't have a specification. I don't have a specification on how big his U-Haul is.
I don't know if they had the pickups in '89. I think that's what. But
he rented a U-Haul truck to essentially move the wood chipper, and I'm guessing it didn't specify, but I'd assume he's moving the chest freezer that has the DNA of her in it.
Probably.
So he's probably got to throw that in there. So he probably needs a big enough one.
Probably.
How
big do you think the largest wood chipper is?
Well, it's commercial, so it's not like you think of like a tree trimming business with the massive ones. Like that's for a business. So that's probably like an industrial grade one or something big. So I don't know how big the largest commercial one would be, but I'm still picturing pretty big.
We've discussed it before, but wood chippers are easily one of the scariest pieces of equipment that you could just readily get your hands on.
I know it was a movie, but I'm picturing Tucker and Dale versus Evil, where that guy just jumps head first in the wood chipper.
Yeah,
and he's gone.
That had a comedic beat to it, but
it's still rough.
Still very it would be a terrifying incident.
Very gruesome. But
wood chipper scared the shit out of me, dude.
I've got a question, and I've written it on my phone. I've got a couple questions for you. And I will be real. I couldn't find, because he never talked about it specifically, like I couldn't find, obviously he's not in the right mindset. He's probably angry because he's getting ready to go through a divorce, even though he probably knows it's because he cheated. I have to imagine he kind of saw it coming. Like he had to have known he was getting caught or something, right? I feel like if you cheat, you kind of just assume in the back of your mind something's going to happen eventually.
Well, he had, he was a police officer. You said it yourself. He was a police officer as well. So he probably had that BS confidence that cops have.
Yeah, of getting away with it.
Above the law. They know more than you about the law and how to get away with this kind of stuff. So
I'm just picturing in my head is like, where do you come up with an idea like this? Like, I've watched enough shows and I've listened to enough media on like true crime to where I get why he froze the body. Once it was frozen, all the liquids are frozen, obviously. So once he's cutting it up, you're not really getting blood squirting everywhere. So you're not really creating a whole mess.
Yeah, and also once you throw it in the chipper, it's also going to leave a lack
shredded.
of
Yeah, it's gone.
Brother,
it sounds like he did it in a snowstorm as well. So the body's just going to stay frozen.
Dude, I feel like once you throw it through a wood chipper, dude, like, because you've seen trees go through wood chippers, it's like sawdust. Like, it's so fine ground that I don't think even if it thawed, you'd really find much. I couldn't find anything because, like I said, he never talked about it. But it's like, where do you think he got an idea like this from? Because I feel like this wasn't just something he just like the day of he murdered her. Like, I need a wood chipper and I need a freezer. Like he had to have thought of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
TV, movie, something had to have given him the idea or something. Maybe.
But it does sound premeditated because in the heat of the moment, because it sounded like he was like collected about it. Maybe not in the moment, but it sounds like he had a plan. Like he knew what he wanted to do. He didn't know. Maybe he may not have known when he was going to do it, but he knew that this was going to be the process of him doing it. Also, what the fuck is up with people if you're upset, just leave. Just leave your significant other. If you're unhappy, why kill them?
Yep.
Sick bastards.
Yeah, it's like the weirdest concept when you read some of these stories. It's like divorce wasn't even an option in their mind.
Yeah, it's like, in what world is that?
It's like my first option, murder. My second option, be unhappy. It's like, There's an option before all of those. It's at the very end, but this case did make history, and you'll find out why.
I'm sure it did. It sounds crazy as shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, how many people? Like, I feel like as a cop, like as an actual cop, there's not like a moment in my mind where I get called for a missing person, because at this point she'd be a missing person. I get called for a missing person, and I show up, and I'm like, holy shit, that sumbitch put in a wood chipper. I couldn't imagine too many cops have seen something like that in their lifetime.
Honestly, this might be fucked up to say. I'm glad she was dead before she went into the wood chipper.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. This could have gone way worse if he just like clobbered her, knocked her out, and then chucked her into it. Oh, yeah. Fuck.
Well, I just mean like if you were alive getting thrown into it.
Oh, yeah.
The terror, the pain. Ugh.
I feel like you wouldn't be alive very long, dude. I feel like it'd be painful for like a few minutes, but I feel like at that point, probably the blood loss would have you pass out, or the pain would make you pass out, I imagine.
I would hope so.
Like, I couldn't imagine you'd be like conscious for very long. I am genuinely curious, like, where I'm assuming the chest freezer's in the garage, because that's where it specified it to be. But I don't know where you're using this chainsaw to cut her up in your house.
You briefly told me about it, and didn't they go up to like a cabin or something?
It's the next couple lines, but he takes her up to basically a river. So I don't know if he did it there, or if he pre-cut her up and moved her in the chest freezer, and then started chucking them in the chest freezer.
I would imagine that he would cut her up there, so that there's no evidence. There would be evidence in the house, but there's less evidence in the house.
I don't know though, because the thing, man, I don't know, because
okay, well, think about it this way: he clubbed her to death in the house. So there's already going to be blood and probably hair and skin and all that stuff at the house. Puts her in the freezer. Like you don't want to. She would have to be frozen for there not to be an excess amount of blood. So you'd want her to at least freeze for a little bit. Wow, I sound like a psychopath right now.
Well, so the thing that gets me, oh, dude, trust me, it's the deep dive into this. What gets me though is I feel like you'd almost want to have pre-cut her up at the house, because like you're going to a public place, and I feel like if you're sawing a body,
no. It said he went to a river. You said he went to a river. Like
it's off a road though.
Yeah.
And the next line, you'll find out someone saw him. That's why I'm thinking he had to have pre-cut her up, because I feel like a body's very distinct looking if you're going to saw it outside. I feel like you've had to pre-cut her up, so then at the very least you're just throwing chunks into a wood chipper, and if you're driving by, you're like, oh, it looked like wood because it was a chunk, you know?
Let's continue on.
Joseph Hine, who worked for the town of Southbury as a snowplow driver, was out clearing the roads with his snowplow when he noticed a U-Haul truck with a wood chipper attached parked beside Lake Czar. Lake Czar is a wide stretch of the Housatonic River. It just goes into the river, and his idea was probably to do it there so like all the evidence would flow through the river, I'd imagine, and disappear. Would be my guess. And then he, this is, I guess I didn't put it in quotations. This is something he said. Now there's something you don't see every day. A guy operating a wood chipper beside a river in a snowstorm at night.
That's suspicious as fuck right out
there. Oh my god, yeah. Like, if I saw that, I'd be like, there's something, like, who does this at night? And in a snowstorm.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to approach him, but I probably.
But that's why I'm saying, because like I feel like even at night you could make out a human figure if he pulled it out and started cutting with a chainsaw. You'd almost have to pre-cut it.
Now he could have cut the body up before the snowplow saw him.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. Because he probably, if there's enough snow out, he probably doesn't think anyone's going to be on the road. This guy just happens to be out because he's doing a job of snow plowing the roads.
And also, he just sees the wood chipper besides the river.
Yeah, he just sees the wood chipper.
We don't know how far this guy is or nothing like that, so he may just, like, he could probably very clearly see the U-Haul and the wood chipper, but what is going in the wood chipper, he probably doesn't know, because, again, it's at night by a river. Rivers don't typically have lights.
You know, it'd also be weird to see just a guy driving through town with a U-Haul and a wood chipper. Like, how often do you see a U-Haul with a wood chipper hooked on the back?
Depends on how cheap the landscaping service is.
I guess, yeah. I guess. I'm just in my mind, I'm like, it'd be so weird.
On December 26th, while Richard and the children were out of town, the Connecticut State Police searched the home. Pieces of carpet where the nanny recalled seeing a dark grapefruit-sized stain had been taken from the master bedroom floor. It tested positive as blood from a human. There was also a blood smear on the side of the mattress. It tested as circulation blood and not menstrual blood. Also turned out to be type O positive, the same type as Helle's. Well, obviously he's going to be the same type as Helle.
I had to specify all that because, they tested the blood to make sure it wasn't an animal, so it was human blood.
Also, maybe this is just guy brain. I didn't know that there would be a difference between circulation blood and menstrual
Bro,
blood.
I didn't either until I researched this, but apparently they can do a test to tell that circulation blood would obviously be like your blood in your veins. So like if you were murdered and bleeding out versus like menstrual blood, which is obviously your time of the month. I feel like you're doing a deep dive on this. I forgot what the test was called, but there's a test.
So circulation blood is obviously just circulation blood. It's the blood that's in your veins. But menstrual blood is a complex mixture of blood, vaginal secretions, and shed endometrial tissue from the uterine lining, which makes sense.
So like when forensic teams do like a scrub of a bathtub, they obviously want to make sure like when they find, when they use luminol to see blood droplets, it's like if it's just menstrual, it just means that the woman was on her period in the tub. There was no murder.
Yes, yeah. So they would find evidence of it. It would be more than just blood,
because they want to rule out because they find blood. They're like, well, she could have been murdered, but like we have no proof because it could have just been an accidental thing.
If you're going as a police officer, you're going into this, and you find blood at a crime scene, you can't necessarily just rule it to foul play immediately because homes have accidents. People bleed sometimes. You get cuts. But once you start finding an excess amount of blood from the same person, I'm sure they can also generally date the blood. I feel like then yours where like concerns and red flags start to rise.
Crazy thing back then, it could take up to 8 weeks to get that test too. So like you just think you're waiting for that test while you're doing more investigating. I didn't specify it, but the blood smear it said smear in like the what?
This is the way you said smear. You said schmear.
Yeah, I realized it the minute I said it. That's why I said it correctly the second time. But anyway, that's the way it did it in the report. But it was more like 4 drops of blood that you could barely see.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I guess they had a microscope brought up.
Damn, they're really digging here.
Which also, can you imagine like this is 86. Like they have this crazy ass technology in 86 to determine like different types of blood, like circulator. What?
I was just gonna say, I don't know how new or old this technology is, but I just feel like in '89, like these are some determined ass cops. I just feel like you don't see this kind of like determination in other cases. Like in the story that we're gonna have next week, dude, the people in that story like don't give a shit, bro.
We're also talking about 2 different continents now here too. This is U.S. Yours is Australia, right?
Yeah, which probably gives it away, but they don't give a shit.
The fuck it does.
From forensic investigator Henry Lee, I was able to deduce that Helle Crafts must have been kneeling down or stooping over the front of her or the foot of her bed when she was attacked. She had been kneeling down when she was murdered. It's possibly Helle was changing the sheets on the bed when her husband attacked and killed her. Also, could she have been praying? Because that makes this a little bit worse if she was religious. Also,
this is all speculation because obviously she's dead. They don't know what happened, and he never told them. So we don't know what she was doing in the time of her death. We just know that she was somewhere in her room, kind of kneeled over. Maybe she was taking her shoes off because she just got home from a flight job, basically.
Maybe she had like one knee on the ground and she was like undoing a strap, maybe.
I don't know, dude. Because you think she just got home basically from an assignment was the last time they saw her. So her friend dropped her off after a flight assignment.
I'd like to imagine her being like super religious and she's praying when her husband comes in.
He just took that opportunity to just...
He's like, oh, you like God so much? Why don't you meet him?
Say hi to him.
This is a tragedy.
They brought Henry Lee in as an investigator. This whole time, by the way, when cops are asking Richard about his wife, he's just like, I don't know. She must have just taken off. I didn't murder her. He failed a polygraph, and he's still to this like he failed a polygraph. They're like, hey, do you know what happened to your wife? No. Do you know, was your wife murdered? No. Did you hurt your wife? No. And he failed all of them. And he's like, I don't know what happened to her.
It's something about polygraphs. They don't hold up in court.
You think if he failed it, though, he'd just come clean at that point and be like, yeah, I failed it. I did it.
Why?
I don't know. Because I'd assume...
Why would you... If he's obviously trying to get away
He's
with the
part-time
murder.
policeman, so he probably knows the law a little better than we would.
Yeah, but also he's trying to get away with murder. Why would
He's
he?
got a 50-50 shot, apparently.
Yeah, but
I mean, obviously we wrote this story so he didn't, but
yeah,
clearly he didn't do well.
yeah. If you're hearing about it from us, they didn't get away with it.
I like the idea though. Like Henry Lee is just setting up an idea of how she was murdered, right? Because no one knows, because no one was in that room when it took place, right? I love the idea that he is speculating she was possibly changing the sheets of the bed. I'm like, who's having an argument about divorce and changing the sheets at the same time?
They may not have been having an argument. Just it states there was an argument. He could have just been kind of festering for a while after the argument, and she just happened to be doing something else, taking her shoes off, changing the sheets, praying.
Just like normal everyday shit, because she just got back from assignment.
Yeah,
she just got back from overseas, so she's probably just going back to her duties.
Yeah, so let's say the argument's over. She goes into the bedroom to do whatever, and he goes and grabs a club from wherever and goes into the bedroom. And
it never specifies what he used. Some say it was a flashlight. Some say it was a lamp. And I'm like, fucking just grab the lamp and hit her across the head. I can see the flashlight. If he was a part-time cop, he might have a mag light, and those are pretty beefy lights, dude.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can swing it hard enough to knock him out in one swing.
I don't know, man.
I don't think you could definitely kill him in one swing.
Fueled with anger, he might have been maybe his adrenaline might have got up there with anger. Maybe, I don't know. I've never hit anyone with a flashlight though, so I don't know.
Do you want to hit me?
Yeah, we'll test it. I just one.
Yeah, let's see how many times it takes to kill me with a flashlight.
I just hit you once, you fall over. I'm like, I've got a lot of explaining to do. Officer, this was an experiment.
We'll do it live. Wrong. We'll do it live. After the search of the Crafts house, Hine reported seeing the truck and woodchipper. He led detectives to the spot at the water's edge.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah.
Before you go any further, I do want to ask you about that. So it was after they searched the house and they found the blood, so they know something happened in the house, right?
Sure.
That's when the dude, the snowplow driver, Hine, reported seeing the truck and the woodchipper.
Okay, so he does report it.
Are you? Yes, but I probably would report it that day.
Wait, does he not report it the same day?
I don't think so. It doesn't specify that it was the same day as the thing. So I don't know if it was a day later or what, because he was doing it at night, so he might have had to wait till the next day in the morning maybe wait till he got off his shift.
How did this all start anyway? Like, did somebody report a missing person?
She had been missing. So
somebody did report a missing person.
I didn't specify. Okay, so her friend dropped her off at her home on November 18th of 1986, right? The same friend was supposed to pick her up the next week for the next assignment. So she was home for 1 week, right? Not even a week. She was home for a few days, technically. And then the friend was supposed to pick her up for an assignment she never reported to, and she never missed work. That was uncharacteristic, so that's when they reported.
Oh, okay.
That was my bad. I didn't put that in there. That was my bad.
After the search of Crafts' house, Hine reported seeing the truck and the woodchipper. That was the snowplow guy. He led detectives to the spot at the water's edge. They found about 3 ounces of human tissue, including the crown of a tooth, a fingernail painted with pink nail polish, bone chips, and some bleach blonde human hairs. There were 2,660 hairs. Who the fuck counts that?
Evidence, bro. I'm assuming some dude was just meticulously counting them. And they weren't cut okay. So the hairs weren't normal either. They weren't cut. They looked shredded, if that makes sense. So they knew something was up.
Police divers later found a chainsaw in the river. On the chainsaw, there were blue fibers, like the ones reported to be the same color as Helle's favorite night robe. The serial number had been scrubbed off, but investigators restored the number in the lab. The number was 5921616 and traced it back to Richard through a warranty card sent in by Richard B. Kraft. His credit card receipts showed several suspicious purchases in the days before Helle's disappearance, including a chest freezer, which was not found in the house, new bed linens, and the wood chipper rental.
Yeah, he was not good at covering his paper trail. Because back then there was a big paper trail. I mean, there still is to this day, but it's a lot more digital now because everyone uses cards.
They could have called the credit card company and see what the purchases were.
Oh, man, the big kicker, and I didn't write this down specifically because I have it on my phone. The big kicker to this is, so the night she got home, like any normal human does, she checked her mail, right?
Helle, before she died?
Helle checked her mail.
Okay.
And when he was throwing pieces of her in the wood chipper, the mail had actually gone through it without being shredded. So they actually found
What are the
envelope.
odds of that?
Oh, they found envelopes with her name and address on them, and they're like, "Well, we know who it is."
Also, why would he throw the mail in there?
Well, it was in her pocket. He didn't know. She had put
It
it in
was
her
in
pocket.
her pocket,
It
and
was in her
somehow it
pocket.
missed the chainsaw and the wood
And
chipper.
the chipper. Do you know how
And it
bad of odds
didn't
that is for that
land
guy?
in the river either.
Yeah, you know how bad of odds that is
Dude,
for that
she
guy?
was definitely praying, and
Yeah.
some god loved her.
Like, there was a picture, and I wish I would have fucking saved it. There was a picture of it, and it was so clear as day. Like, there were scuff marks on the outer envelope, but the inside contents that had her name on it were so preserved.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you couldn't
That's
have been more unlucky. Also, real quick, who...
oh, fuck that guy anyway. He's a monster.
Oh, yeah. But, real quick, who throws a whole-ass chainsaw in the river hoping it'll float away or be hidden? It's a fucking chainsaw.
He cannot be a good cop.
God, no.
I mean,
'cause he
not
left so
morally.
much
I just mean
evidence.
like actually at his job. Like, there's so much evidence here. There's so much evidence, even without a body. There's so
Okay.
much evidence here.
I'm gonna go through my
They
notes
found
now.
the chainsaw. He didn't scrub the numbers off, so they got the serial number.
Well, he
He
scraped
used
them
a
off.
credit card.
He scraped the numbers off, which they used the. So it's kind of cool. So they scraped. I've got a couple notes here. I'm gonna go through real quick for this one line, this one area that I wanted you to specifically read because I want to give you some of these. So all of that evidence, right? The hairs tested positive for human, and then the DNA tested back to Helle Crafts. The blue fibers, they couldn't necessarily determine that it was hers, but they tested it, and it had the same structural integrity and color as the bathrobe, her favorite bathrobe. So they just assume there's obviously no way to just tie that back to anyone because I mean anyone could have had the same robe, bought it from
Yeah,
Kmart or
except
something.
her name was literally all over the crime scene.
The envelopes, yeah. The tooth, the crown that they found on the tooth, they traced it back. They looked through her dental records, and it matched the exact one she got a year earlier. What was the other part?
I mean, this guy is a terrible criminal. I mean, he got caught, so I mean, I guess that makes sense.
So he scrubbed off. He scratched off the serial number, and they used an acid basically to wear down that scratch, and then it went down because the numbers are stamped in, so they're grooved in. So once they wore down the scratches, they saw the number.
Yeah. So I mean, the dude might as well just like turned himself in.
He left so much evidence. Like he definitely was a part-time cop and not a
full-time. Granted, if Hines hadn't have been driving by,
he might have got away with it. Maybe
because they wouldn't have known where to go.
Because if you think about it, if he could have made it through winter, I feel like all the extra liquid from the melting snow might have caused some of the contents to float downriver.
Well, the
chainsaw's the big one. I don't think that was going to move.
There's not
so
enough evidence in the house to indicate foul play.
Just some blood drops, essentially.
So if it wouldn't have been for Hines driving by and reporting the suspicious activity, this whole case would have been nothing. Why Richard wouldn't, I don't know, just take extra precautions.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I feel like he genuinely was just like, I can get away with this.
And then he put shit on a credit card?
Yeah,
cash is king for a reason, buddy.
Like, I literally, there's a reason in the beginning I specified that he was really bad. He was really bad with.
And again, if Hines hadn't have reported the suspicious activity, like he may have gotten away with this. Like there's no body. There is no body.
Here's my issue, and this is one of my questions for you. Would you report it? Like I'm thinking, me as a person who I am today. I drive by a lot of weird stuff as a delivery driver that I don't report, and I'm like, would I report this if I just drove by? I'd be like, oh, that's weird. You don't see that every day, and then I'd probably just keep going with my day.
It's okay, so it's weird because we are both.
We have seen some weird stuff, you and I.
We have seen some weird stuff, but it's during the day, and it's not like overly suspicious. You know, you're just like, oh, that's weird.
Dude, I feel like we've seen stuff on the way down to our stop at night when it's still dark out.
But nothing potentially illegal, just fucking weird.
Well,
this guy is at
would
night.
You think that was illegal to see a U-Haul with a wood chipper on it? I just think that would be weird. I wouldn't suspect it to be.
No. It's nighttime. Okay.
But what if he pulled over and just left it because it's snowing?
Michael, listen. It's nighttime, all right, and it's probably early morning because the snowplow is running, right? It's probably early morning, not just night. It's operating.
That is true.
Like I think it said that he was operating it.
I believe so. Yeah.
Otherwise, why would he be there? You're not going to hang around and enjoy the view. So he's operating a wood chipper next to a river in the early hours of the morning. If I had to guess, I don't know. Maybe it's 10 p.m. I don't know.
It's got to be
Either way,
early.
it's
If they're
still
running
suspicious.
snowplows, I don't know. Snowplows can run it the night before when they think it's supposed to
I
snow.
mean, they can run whenever, as long as they need snow.
So it could be night, I guess.
But if it's at night, even then, if it's like 10 p.m., dude, that's still fucking weird. That's very suspicious. And operating next to a river?
That is true, yeah.
Lawn care companies do not dispatch of their wood in a river. I mean, maybe some do. I don't actually know that for sure.
I was gonna say I don't know.
It's just
where.
very unusual.
If it's just sawdust, I guess it wouldn't. You could put it back probably in the woods, back in Mother Earth, because it probably just absorb into the soil over time or something.
I think a lot of them, they probably have like deals with material companies where they could just come.
I was gonna say
ship it into
I'd
wood
imagine
bins or something.
They drop off wood for like to companies or sawdust to companies for like mulch or something maybe or filler something. Yeah. But I really wanted you to read those lines because I really wanted to know what you thought of that.
I'm bothered.
My thing is, and it never goes into detail, and there's nothing about it, but even with her frozen body, so there's probably not a lot of blood being lost because she's frozen. I still feel like the wood chipper would be kind of red in areas, and I feel like if you brought a wood chipper back, I'd be like, what is this?
It depends on how frozen it is.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Because it's obviously during the winter. It's Connecticut, right?
So yes. So the forensic team investigating this, they did do an experiment. They rented a wood chipper and they chucked a dead pig in it to see how it would shred and scatter to kind of reenact it, if you will. There wasn't a whole lot of detail on it. That was just like a part of the story. They did that to kind of reenact it to see like how.
Oh, I thought you were leading. Oh, I don't care then. I thought there was going to be more to it.
No,
like,
it was just
and they watched the chunks float down, and
they wanted
were
to
able
see the
find
shred
the
pattern
exact
of
moments.
they wanted to see the shred pattern on like skin and like muscle, and to kind of like connect it, if you will.
So they just recreated the incident.
Yeah, that's really all they did. Yeah.
Way cool if they would have just used an unclaimed cadaver, but just kidding.
Throw Richard in there. I mean, why not? No worse than what I said. Throw Richard in there.
They should have, honestly.
Oh, you're not gonna like the end. I'm gonna let you read the very last one. Crafts' first trial in 1988 ended with a deadlocked jury. So there was a mistrial because one juror refused to convict him. But the following year, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to 50 years in prison. Until recent advances in forensic science, a murder conviction without a dead body was nearly impossible. But as this case proved, it is more difficult than ever to get away with murder. And I'm going to stop right there.
So what, you want me to read the rest of this?
Yes, but not yet. So this was a big trial because this is the first trial in history that they convicted someone without a body. That's why it doesn't specify, but I'm assuming that's why the one juror refused to convict him, because there wasn't enough evidence because there was no body. But they had all the other evidence that proved that he did this. But I think he wanted the body.
I wonder if that juror knew him.
I don't know, because
sweet Richard would never do anything this.
They did not release who it was for obvious reasons. I bet.
Yeah.
But I just imagine he may have knew him, or he just was like, I want to see a body before I convict this guy. It's like, there is so much evidence pointing to him. Yeah, there's no physical body that shows that he murdered it because there's no actual body left. Anyway. Like you say, like, could you imagine this wife's husband threw her in a wood chipper, and he's like, well, is there a body for me to see before I can convict him? It's like, what did I just tell you?
You got some glue? I'll give you the
what
pieces.
Did I just tell you, dude?
Crafts was released from prison in 2020. He was 82 years old and only served 32 years of his 50-year sentence. This case became Connecticut's first murder conviction without the victim's body. The laws which were in effect at that time allowed a prisoner to serve significantly less prison time than their sentence, provided the prisoner exhibited good behavior while incarcerated. Thus, Kraft's maximum release date, as listed by the DOC in August 1st, 2020, it is expected that he will be fully released from DOC custody sometime in June of what, 2020?
Yes.
So he's
out.
He's completely free. I'm assuming DOC is Department of Corrections.
Yes, I just shortened it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he served 32 years of a 50-year sentence for murder.
Well, I think like the minimum life sentence is 25 years, so he served over minimum life sentence. I'm not justifying his actions. I think the dude deserves to rot in hell, but I mean, he did in some aspects, serve time, but it's pretty fucked up. I think the dude should have also got chucked into a wood chipper.
Yeah, Casey, I agree with you 100%. He should go
Sorry,
to the
I
wood
was trying
chipper
to-
the river also.
I didn't look it up, so I was trying to see if I could find out when he died, if he was still alive or died. But
Did he die?
I don't know. I couldn't find it. Well, you started talking to me, so I stopped looking. But so when he was moved out of the maximum facility, he moved to a halfway house to try and rehabilitate himself. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, where do you go after that? Like, I'm sure, yeah, you had good behavior, but like, you're out of prison. You were in prison for 32 years. Like, where do you go after that? Like, you've murdered someone. You spent X amount of time in prison. It's like, you're not going back to your normal life. I'm sure your kids have nothing. The 3 kids are now grown and have nothing they want to do with you for killing their mother. So it's like, where do you go from there?
To hell. No, Richard Kraft is still alive.
I was gonna say he's only 82 as of 2020. So what? He'd be
87.
Yeah. Oh, I had to remember what year we were in. I was like,
He's
what year
really
is it
fucking
again?
old though. He's about to kick the bucket. And he's
Oh
probably,
yeah,
I don't know, probably in some state-funded nursing home.
probably.
Hope he's getting raped by the nurses.
I wanted to know what you were I wanted you to read that because I want to know what your thought was that he had a 50-year sentence, but because of good behavior, he only served 32 years.
Should have pushed him down some stairs into a wood chipper.
I'm kind of
I
surprised
think
he
this
didn't get a
guy.
death sentence.
Well, that probably comes back to there not being a body, even though there's enough evidence to convict him
Maybe.
of murder.
You can't have a death sentence without a body.
Connecticut does not have death penalty.
Oh, that could be why then.
Yeah, that's 100% why. So he just gets life sentences and only has 32 years and gets out at 82 and then enjoys his. He probably watches Fargo at the state-funded nursing home. Fuck Richard Kraft. Sucks
He
for
truly
Helle.
was a piece of shit.
They all are.
Destroyed a family. Also, can I just say something? Like, you were pretty well off. Like, okay, like, let's, cheating all aside, like, let's just pretend you weren't a cheater, right?
Wait, real quick. What if he just went back to being a pilot?
That
Wouldn't
would
that be
terrify me
wild?
in so many ways.
That'd be wild.
I would not want him flying my plane. Let's say let's take the cheating out, right?
All right.
The dude was still less than ideal husband. He was moody. He wasn't super attentive to the children, and he tended to purchase expensive equipment and firearms. But like that being said, they had money, I'm guessing, because they had a live-in nanny. Like she even brought up the bloodstains.
He was a pilot. She was an attendant in '89.
Yeah, so they probably had
making pretty good money.
Probably had good money, so it's like, dude, you had a pretty decent life, it sounds like, for you to just throw it all away and ruin your children's lives on top of everything else.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like,
I mean, the guy sounds exactly like you. I don't
Oh.
So the next time you're standing next to a wood chipper or watching Fargo, just remember, it's not always fiction. Helle Crafts' case proved you don't need a body to prove a murder. Just some blood, a tooth, and a really determined forensic team. Thanks for flying with us on this turbulent tale. We'll see you next time on Don't Forget Your Flashlight.